Did you want to acknowledge?
I did. So, very special screening tonight. We have someone very special in the audience, and I'm a little terrified because he hasn't seen the film until now. So I think we should all show our love to Jacob. Jacob, can you stand up? I'm sure you're red-eyed. A very brave man. You okay? I was going to say, I feel like maybe give him a couple of minutes, but if anyone has any questions. And this was the first time Jacob has spoken about this, so thank you.
Eva, the film just had its world premiere in September. It's had, I guess, another festival screening in the Hamptons, but I mean, this is really one of still the first handful of audiences to have seen it. Just yesterday, the trailer went out for the Netflix premiere that'll happen in a couple weeks. What have you been hearing from people since news has trickled out that this film is in the world?
It's been interesting. I feel like the community knew the film was coming for a while because I obviously reached out to a lot of people while we were making it. Since we premiered in Toronto, I think the next morning I woke up to a bunch of private messages on my social media from, I think it was 6 people said it happened to me as well, and they didn't want to do anything about it. They were resolved, but they just wanted to know there are more, which I knew, and that was quite powerful. There's a bit of good and bad. I think there's, people who are still supportive of him and feel protective, and, it's very divided. And Jacob told me that, his inbox has been full since the trailer came out yesterday, and I was like, oh boy, that's just the trailer. Wait till the film comes out. So it's, it's a short festival run. I think we're doing 8 festivals in 2 months since the premiere at Toronto, and then it comes out worldwide on Netflix November 20. And, it's a lot. It goes wide. It's my first Netflix original. They've bought some of my films in the past, but it's 190 countries, 150 million subscribers. It's a lot of potential eyes. So I think it'll be an interesting ride.
Can you illuminate any more that you know about what Bikram Choudhury is doing now? We see him giving that class, and how is it that he still has contemporary followers?
Well, there's currently a teacher training going on in Mexico, actually, right now, and there's probably, I'm assuming, around 100 people at least there. It's interesting. I did a bunch of Bikram and also hot yoga classes while making the film. I wasn't a Bikram person, but I obviously had to do a bunch of classes to understand it and also to meet people and talk to people. And at one of the classes that I did, I asked afterwards, I said, do you guys know? What do you know? And a lot of them just said, look, we know a bit, we know a lot. They actually, and I don't say this with any judgment, they just didn't seem that interested. They loved the yoga, it worked for them, they wanted to go on with it. That said, I would say, and I don't know the percentage, but a lot of studios have changed their names in America. It's not as big in the rest of the world. I live in America, but I'm from Australia originally, and it's huge in Australia, and it's still Bikram in most studios. So there's a long way to go where I think studios need to change their names and disassociate from him as a first stepping point.
Is there movements of activists or people who felt wronged by him who are looking for other means of restitution now?
There's one ongoing settlement case that has one or two cases that haven't been settled yet that are in process. It's a little tricky now because he's out of the country. A lot of the payments were made out of his insurance, so I don't know how much money is left. I don't know how that's going to play out for them. And I feel like unless the DA in California steps up, which is something I would love to see, and goes after him criminally, it's kind of run its course to a large degree. I think, in the end of the day, he's gotten away with it. And he is based in Calcutta. He spends a lot of time in Japan, Asia. He just did a teacher training in Spain, as you saw, now Mexico. I mean, he kind of lives the life. His life is definitely diminished because he doesn't have his beloved Beverly Hills lifestyle and America, which is, he was the American dream. It was his life. But he's still living well. He does a lot of talks around the world. He makes a lot of money doing that. He's still making a lot of money if you think about it. A couple of teacher trainings a year, 100 people at each one, between 10 and 14,000 a pop. He doesn't pay the teachers really. They volunteer at those teacher trainings. He's still making millions.
Let's take some questions from the audience. If you have one, raise your hand. Yeah, over here.
It's
If
a,
anyone didn't hear over here, she's asking about the legal process. If the LADA did choose to go forward, what are the options of extradition, et cetera?
Extradition's really complicated and difficult. As far as I understand it, you have to be tried criminally, convicted of 2 years minimum, and then they can extradite you. And when I say they, it's like Interpol, and they have a massive list of people that require extradition, and I think like 1% of people get extradited. So it's a very unlikely situation.
But your understanding is a trial could go forward with in his
I
absence.
believe so. You could have new cases, you could have existing cases. Yeah, and then it becomes international law and different countries' law. And I mean, I honestly think, and I hate saying this, but I do think at this point he's gotten away with it, and it would take an awful lot to get him back here. He's a powerful guy, he's very connected. It hasn't happened till now, and it kills me to say it. I would love nothing more than to see him come back and face justice. And also, you know, to quite frankly pay his debts. You know, he went through the civil justice system here, and he's an American citizen, and if you live here, you have to abide by the laws. It's just, I don't think he's a huge priority, quite frankly. And I think, and I've heard this for a lot of people, and I don't like sort of speculating, and but I do think a lot of people are probably quite happy that he's gone and they don't have to deal with him, because he had a lot of powerful friends, a lot of powerful connections, and I think it's sort of like, if he's gone, it's over for a lot of people.
We'll take another question. Yeah, over here. So is LA the only jurisdiction, or would another?
All of the cases that are that have been settled or are currently pending were in Los Angeles. So if people came out in New York and had a complaint against him, then they could go to the DA here. I think, coming back to what you said, I think there's some value in cases coming out now just because it's now a post-Me Too world, and the DAs are more invested and more responsive to sex crimes and to abuse crimes. The problem is that he's left the country, so it's really, really hard to get him back. It's a lot of money and time to spend, and he's elusive. So it's a pretty grim story, and I think that's part of the power of it. You know, I started this in a pre-Me Too world, and Me Too happened during the making of the film, and I think I thought it was already powerful and important enough to tell then, but now I feel like it's such a cautionary tale. And, you know, obviously watching what's happening with Harvey coming up, his case keeps getting deferred. He keeps changing lawyers. It's exactly what Bikram did. It's a tactic that powerful people use. And I think what happens to Harvey will be a very, very strong indication of what's going to happen in the future to a lot of these people. And it will reflect on the Bikram case as well.
A question right here.
I feel very pressured. I guess all that I can do, we tried really hard to get her to comment, and she wouldn't, and she never has. I guess what I've been doing, and this is what this is the 5th screening of the film. This is the 3rd festival it's played at, and whenever I've just started doing press, and one of the things I'm talking about is the fact that we've got a fantastic new governor in California, Gavin Newsom, and that he needs to put pressure on her, because that's all it takes. And a really great New York example of that is that Harvey had gotten away with it for a long time. I don't know if any of you, I just finished reading She Said and Ronan Farrow's book, and when Me Too happened, the Time's Up and Me Too organisation put pressure on Cuomo to put pressure on, what's his name, Vance, your dear Cyrus Vance. So they put pressure on him to reopen the Harvey case and to go after him. So there's power in this. And so one of the things I'm saying that's been picked up quite a lot in the press is he needs to put pressure on Jackie Lacey. I mean, he's a little busy at the minute. You know, California's on fire and Trump just cut off all of our FEMA funding. He's really prioritised there. But he is super progressive, super feminist. You know, I hope he...
Wife is a documentary filmmaker.
I did say out of Toronto with the press, just saying he needs to watch the movie. I think there's also a lot of pressure on DAs not to go after powerful, famous people. I think OJ was a huge embarrassment, failure, cost a lot of money, and I think the DAs pretty much around the country try and sort of step back as much as they can.
DAs don't want to take on cases that they are afraid they won't win.
That they can't win, and sex crimes are so hard to win. It's he said, she said. Pre-Me Too, most women didn't tell anyone about it. You know, Jacob can talk to this, you know. They didn't talk about it. They kept it secret. They often didn't go to the police. And when they did, the police said, you know, this is why they didn't go to the police, because the police said, what were you wearing? Were you drunk? They didn't go to the hospital. And there was a much shorter statute of limitations. They're being expanded now, like in New York, and they have been in LA. They're very hard cases to prove. And again, Harvey is going to be a great litmus test for this. But they stay away from them. I believe the statistic, Carlo, the badass blonde lawyer in the film, Micki's lawyer, told me that 10%, less than 10% of sex crimes that are reported to the DA get taken to trial.
Let me take another question right here in the aisle.
Not allowed to talk about the budget. Sorry?
The question was how long did it take to make the film, and if she could say anything about the budget or cost of archival footage.
I can't disclose the budget, unfortunately. It was super fast, actually. It's probably the fastest feature doc I've done. I think from the time we started filming to the time we finished, which was the day before Toronto, it was about 12 months. It was very quick. We shot it all between, I guess, June or July last year in sort of October. The edit was pretty much a 4-month period with 2 editors, which is what made it quick, because often you cut for like 8 months. And the film is 60% archive, so a lot of it came together in the edit, and the editors are heroes. Kimberly Hassett and Forrest Barry are amazing, and I want to work with them forever. And, you know, archive is a real challenge. I love it because it's searching. You don't know what you're going to get. You know some stuff when you go into it, but, you spend the entire time looking and looking. We had a great archivist. Our assistant editor was amazing. And just to give you an example, 4 weeks before we locked picture, we got a box of mini DV tapes from the 80s that I'd been trying to get for over a year and a half. And you just never give up, and you push and you push and you push. And it was, an obscure filmmaker who had made a film, and he had all of this material that no one had ever seen. And so we had 4 weeks to finish, and we went through that footage immediately. We had to have it transferred, went through it, and out of that probably came like maybe 3 minutes of gold footage that's in the film. And so I think one of the things as a doc filmmaker is you never take no for an answer, and you never give up, and you're always looking and searching, whether it's for a character or for a story. And Jacob was one of the last people we filmed. And just to also give you an idea of how I think courageous and strong he is, I remember the night you told me on the day we filmed, you said I was going to pull out last night, and I'm so thankful that you didn't, and I hope you feel that too.
Question on the aisle there.
I've been making documentaries for a very long time. I'm very old, and I'm very realistic about them. I think often people think documentaries can change the world, and they can, but I'm also very realistic, and I like to say, at best, people will see it, people will be educated, will learn something, will change the way they think about something, will be inspired to perhaps act if they see something like this. They will be inspired. At best, we will get Jackie Lacey on the case and we will bring him back here and have him, tried. So, but I'm very realistic, and I honestly think if it warns somebody, saves somebody, helps somebody, it's like when Larissa says Sarah came out with her story and she said it happened to somebody else. There is power in communication, there's power in telling your stories, and this could save other people. So even if that's the achievement of the film, I think it's well worth it.
We have to leave it there. We have another film coming in. We invite you to take your conversations out to the sidewalk. Please tell your friends. It'll be on Netflix on November 20th. Thank you for coming. Thanks especially to Eva Orner.